Hello, courageous creators. It's Joy Taylor with A Soul Inspired Life, and I have a wisdom warrior to interview today. I'm really, really excited for this particular interview. Our guest today is Shanta Gabriel. Shanta is a healer, an author, and a trainer. She's devoted to bridging heaven and earth. We're going to find out what that means in a moment. One thing I know about Shanta is she takes these incredible spiritual terminologies and brings them into applicable, practical, like skills and tools and ways for us to have a more fully expressed and joyous life. Shanta began her studies in 1977 with an Indian master, learning the technologies of sound and healing. And today her mission is to facilitate and invite people into a direct experience of infinite love and divine intelligence. So Shanta, we have so much to talk about. I also know that you have created some online programs, the Light Field Technology, you have a membership site, and you are all about inspiring people to bring heaven to earth. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled because you've been on this path a long time. And I just think let's just start there. 1977, you were seeking truth. Tell us how you got started.
Yes, I was seeking truth for many years, actually. In the early 70s, it was like everything that I had been told was what I needed to do was not actually working for me. It wasn't fulfilling. The people who had the money and whatever were not happy. I mean, it wasn't my goal. And I decided to just seek new things. And I first read the Be Here Now book, and that led me to the autobiography of a yogi. Once I read that, I started doing the self-realization fellowship lessons that were by the mail at that time. And there was one that said you needed to have a guru if you were going to be on this spiritual path, which I don't believe anymore, but it might have been true in those days. And I had this beautiful vision of these hands at the end of a path. And about a week later, I was doing some traveling in the desert of California. And there was a picture of this holy man on a cafe door that said, come sit, meditate, and experience for yourself. So I did. And that turned out to be the guru I had been looking for. I didn't even have to go to India. He was right there in California.
Well, and that's kind of interesting in and of itself. So one of the things you teach people today is how to manifest, right? How to follow their guidance, to pray, and to create a better life for themselves. So how does that process work? How can people get clear on what they need and allow that to come into their lives more easily?
That's why they call it a spiritual practice, because we need to do something. We need to flex those muscles that allow us to resonate with how it feels in our hearts and how it feels in our bodies when we're experiencing truth. There's an alignment exercise that I received from Archangel Gabriel right at the very beginning of my work with him, which was about 1990. And then but it all had to do with bringing light into your body, bringing light through the chakra system, bringing light through your energy field, and grounding, this important aspect of staying in your body grounded, and then bringing these higher frequencies through you. So that's the process is like that. And it's very, it's not difficult. It's so simple that you might think it wouldn't work, but it does. And I think the simpler an exercise is, the more that we get our mind out of engagement and go into our hearts.
You know, there's so many questions I want to ask you, because so many people who tune into A Soul Inspired Life, I mean, everyone's on a different place in their journey. They've had different spiritual religions or teachers. So when you use the terms bringing heaven to earth or bridging heaven and earth, in the most simple terminology possible, what does that really mean? Or what do we experience when we feel like we're connecting heaven and earth?
It was one of the terms that Archangel Gabriel used right at the very beginning, was that we are here to bridge heaven and earth. We're here to bring our spirit into our daily life and be able to infuse our daily existence with more inspiration, with more purpose, with more meaning. So that's what I really mean by bringing heaven to earth.
That's beautiful and simple and so resonant with what I believe to be so true as well. Archangel Gabriel.
Yeah.
Who is he?
He is a being of light. The archangels are actually have these qualities of consciousness, and each one of the archangels carries a teaching that we're here to experience if this is our path. And for me, the archangels showed up. I wasn't looking for them, but I was asking for my new soul path to open. I said, I'm ready to do my soul purpose, bring it on. And the next thing I knew, there were archangels standing in my living room, kind of dramatically. It's a whole other story. It's on my website called My Initiation with the Angels. But it was a surprise, and it wasn't at first something I was looking for. But Archangel Gabriel just he taught me how to receive messages. He taught me how to connect with my highest self, which is one of the things that I think we forget. You know, we're asking for certain teachers or certain ascended masters or angels to come to us, when our higher self, which is actually a true part of our energy system, that is our soul's voice. It's connected to our soul. It knows what we came here to do. And so we are connecting with a part of us that knows the lessons and the path that we're here to follow. So if we come through our higher self, we might have an experience of different teachers that come at different times. Or also guidance that comes. It might be a voice, it might be a feeling, it might be such a deep knowing in your heart that you can hardly not take action. And so if you get yourself into that familiar acquired state of connection to your highest self, you can trust your intuition more.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, just pretty much everyone has had those experiences, those gut feelings, and followed them, and things work out, and they work out better than we even can anticipate.
Yes.
So I'm noticing as you're talking that your life is a conversation with prayer, you know, and just this idea of asking for what's next or asking to live your soul purpose. Do you feel like you just expect the answers will come? And is that something we or all the listeners ought to do, is expect the answers will come?
That's what faith is. You know, that and I do, it's ask and the door shall open. I really believe that we need to ask. When we're asking, we're letting the universe know what our interest is, where we want to put our attention, what we're willing to experience. And so I believe it's really important to ask for those specific things that we're wanting to have more of in our lives. There's different ways of asking. Begging isn't my first choice of a prayer, but sometimes that's what we're here for. We just need to. And so I think that prayer is the first response, not the last choice of what we want to do. And so I usually will pray for alignment and bring the light all the way through me and make sure I'm grounded. I'll pray for guidance. I'll just say, something happens and I'll say, that's what I want to experience more of, just like that, and then I say thank you, because sometimes asking in advance, you also want to say thank you in advance, because the answer is going to come. It may not come in the form that you thought about, but it does come. It always has.
I just love this. This is such powerful takeaway, just to consistently pray or to put out intention, and then also the gratitude.
Oh, yes.
And really in business, in life, in relationships. There's no place where this doesn't make sense. So following our intuition, asking for help, asking for signs or guidance, and being grateful can make someone much more successful in business, a better leader, a better friend.
Yeah, it works in all walks of life.
Yeah. So Shanta, okay, so the theme that, so much of my life has been doing research on inspiration. What is it? Who has it? How do we sustain it? And you have what's called a weekly inspiration that you send out to your e-list.
You do? Yes.
So tell us about what you put in that weekly inspiration and why you use the word inspiration.
I personally feel like I need to be inspired every day. It's one of those things that when I don't feel inspired, when I don't feel like there's been some meaningful input into my day, it's dull. It has no luster. Mm-hmm. And inspiration is something that brings so much light, so much radiance into my life that it's an important thing. And so I feel like I want to share that with people. And I have a book that's called The Gabriel Messages, which has 56 different messages from Archangel Gabriel that I've had as a book and card set, both. And it's an online book and card set now. And so the inspiration of the week is I take one of those cards and the message that came from the book, and I put them together. I usually have a commentary, how that inspiration came to me, how that message landed in my life, what was going on in the world at that time, and what's happening now. So I try to bring it back to present time, practical, useful information. And many of the messages from that book, from the Gabriel Messages, has a practical practice that you can put in there, and it's something that you can try and see if it works. So I think it's a useful tool. Every day people say it's like going to church, or it's like just this inspiration landed in my inbox. It's just what I needed to hear today. Mm. And I've been hearing that for a long time.
So how can people get that weekly inspiration from you?
Right on my website. It's one of the very first things that's there at shantagabriel.com.
Perfect. And so what inspires you?
So many things. You inspire me, Joy. You have been a real instrument of inspiration for my work, because it's for so many years I thought of my work as a ministry, and it truly is a ministry. But I just also recognize it is a way of working in the world, and that's a business. And so I want people to really understand that the spiritual principles are so useful in everyday work, and also that there's time. There's time for spiritual practice. It doesn't take a long time. Even 10 minutes of meditation or 5 minutes of intentional prayer can make a huge difference in the way your day goes.
And Shanta, you have a program specifically about spiritual practices?
I do.
What's that?
Several of them, actually. What's coming up every quarter, I do a spiritual practice as a group. People from all over the world join. It's by donation, and I share some of my practices from my teachers and give choices so that people can choose one or more that they can use for that. And we do it for 7 days. And every day there's a prayer and a focus people use, and it only takes 5 or 10 minutes, or they can do it for hours. It's very personal. And then I'll send them an inspirational message that day too. So they get 7 inspirational messages every day. So one every day for 7 days. And then we also have a program that I just completed the 3rd class. It's called Secrets of Light Field Technology. And this is one of the most empowering classes I've ever taught. Somebody just from this one said she has never changed so much in 3 weeks as she did in that class. And it was an amazing experience because there's transmissions of energy from the Archangels, because they are very invested in our ability to raise consciousness and hold frequencies of consciousness for the rest of the planet. So there is more inner peace and outer peace and more harmony with all our relationships. And so the use of light as a tool of consciousness, as a way of bringing ourselves back in alignment to our most divine purpose in life, is a really powerful tool. So that is so the light fields become a vehicle for your own personal power field, your own personal system that you are in and can walk around in, and you keep your intentions in this matrix that allows you to stay very focused during your day, very purposeful.
There's some things you said about focus, intention, and living on purpose, and then also inner peace and outer peace. As we were talking, it's easy for teachers to get theoretical, and I just want to applaud you again for really bringing some ancient teachings and some new science to the world. And I know you're supporting people internationally and creating groups. So those programs you talked about are also on your website.
They are. The Light Field Technology program has not come out in the form that it's going to be, but it's in process right now. So that, and I'm putting that together with my 3-month coaching program, so that people can actually learn how to use the light fields and then work with me for several months to be able to integrate that into their lives and use it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How has this changed your life, this work?
Well, it's so much. I feel like I live in beauty. I feel in harmony with myself pretty much every day. I feel inspired every day. I feel happy no matter what is going on in my life. I feel at peace most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a huge, it made a huge difference. Yeah.
And who doesn't want that, right? That peace, regardless of what's happening outside of our lives, is just incredible. And I know it makes for better relationships too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about light that I wanted to really talk about too is that light is a tool for consciousness, as I said, but light carries divine love, and light also carries infinite intelligence. And so this really inspiring ability to bring light into our bodies is actually changing the frequencies of who we are and how we work in the world. The other thing about that is that light, because it carries divine intelligence, because it holds divine love as a frequency, you can send light to any situation. You can send it to people that you know or you don't know. You can send it to your relationships. You can send it into organizations, and you can send it to the environment. When you send light, it becomes that empowered process that lifts the frequencies. And
I was thinking how powerful to send light to any work project. And because so many people are entrepreneurs who tune into a soul-inspired life, it's, as we work in teams, or maybe there's a web developer or a book formatter or someone working on one of the projects that's part of the organization, send light.
Absolutely.
Shanta, when people send light, is there a color? Does it matter? What do you recommend?
I like to send gold light. I just see the golden light of the sun seems to hold so much beauty and energy for me. So I use gold light, but it doesn't really matter. There's also many, many people who believe in violet light and the power of violet. So, and white light, so I don't think there's any wrong answer in that one. You just send whatever your heart feels to send, and that's the right thing.
All right. Shanta, how fun to spend time with you and learn more about you and your work and to inspire everyone else that's listening in today.
Yes, thank you.
I know one thing before we close that is really, really a big part of your mission right now is bringing people together in groups.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's the last question is, what is the importance of people having good community right now?
When we're in times of change like we are right now, this is the biggest time of change on the planet so in history. This has never happened before. So people are changing in consciousness. They're awakening to a world that seems to have a lot of differences. When we're working together, we can find out that we're not the only one that feels that way or has that belief system. And it does so much good to know that there's other people that can relate to what's important to you. And so I love bringing people together to discover that. And also in India, they've been doing this for centuries, where they put people into spiritual communities because it's like being protected. That you're like a little tree, and you put that little brace on the tree, so as it grows, its inner trunk gets stronger. And so it's the same kind of thing for us when we are growing and becoming more attuned to the spiritual world. Having that support is really valuable. And the last thing is that many studies have been done on the power of group practices. And they found out that it takes very few people to reach all the people in the world, to change the consciousness. They found out that things like less emergency room visits, less accidents, all different kinds of things happen, less violence on the streets, that when a concentrated group meditated together, that it changed the world around them as well. And so I think that there are groups all over the world now of people who really believe that holding a frequency of love is going to make a difference to the world. And with that many people coming together with that focus, it's going to make a difference.
And we all can play a part in making that difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for creating community. And I know on your website there's invitations to join your membership group, and obviously the inspirations of the week and your book and all sorts of beautiful, beautiful gifts. You are sincere. You're sincere on your path. You are truly a wisdom warrior, Shanta. Thank you for being with all of us. And thank you, listeners, for sharing, right? For really being here and showing up and being a part of the change. Being a change agent, being a courageous creator. Thank you, Shanta.
Yes, thank you, Joy. Namaste.
Until we meet again, live, love, and lead a soul-inspired life.